Hello everyone, in this video I'm going to show you how to set up a weekly upcoming events newsletter using Event Calendar Newsletter and MailChimp. So I have an example site here. This is for a co-working space that's local here, and they have a bunch of different events, and they want every Sunday to send an email with upcoming events. And this is kind of what they've been doing manually. It's a pretty straightforward template. They basically just have hi members, a reminder of the events that are coming up. They have the date of each event, the title, and a short description there. So if we flip over to our WordPress dashboard, once we have Event Calendar Newsletter installed, we basically just have the settings screen when we click on Event Calendar Newsletter in the menu. So if we go to, you basically just pick the event calendar. It should just have your event calendar selected by default. In this case, they're using the all-in-one event calendar by Timely. We'll want to pick how far in the future of events to use. So in this case, we're doing the upcoming week of events. So we'll just pick 1 week. And we only want to include co-motion events by default. So that'll exclude any private events or other events. But I'll show you how you can add that as a separate section. And then if we go down to group events, because in their template, they have the date of the event above each one, and it's kind of grouped by that date, we'll select group by day to automatically add these days in. And then if we scroll down to our formatting, by default, you get the title in header 2, which is pretty big, the start date, start time, and some other stuff. But to match their template, we're going to add the title, but in the same size as the rest of it. So if we just change that to paragraph, and if you don't have this toolbar visible, you'll have to click that first. And if we just bold this, and then I'm going to remove the start date because that'll be shown above the group of events for that date. We'll leave the start time, and we'll remove the end time and the location name because all of the events will be happening at the same location. And now instead of description, we're just gonna, which is the full description of the events, which could be quite long, we're just instead gonna replace that with the excerpt, which will be a shortened version of the description if it is long. So we just remove description, we pick excerpt from the list, we click insert, and it'll insert that tag into our event template. And also in their template, they don't have links to the full details on their site. So we'll just remove that link there, and this should match their template pretty well. So if we click Generate Newsletter Formatted Events, and then scroll down, we'll see it basically will show the event happening on Tuesday, the event happening on Friday as well, but it doesn't match the exact format that they have. It's got April, they basically just have the month and the day without the year because the year is kind of assumed. It's the next week of events. So we can change that by going into the settings. And then in our group by day format, we can pick specifically what format we want that date above the grouped events to look like. So if we look at the documentation, we're basically going to want something where it has the month in full. So that'll be a capital F here. So we'll add that in. And then we also want the day of the month. So that'll just be a lowercase j because we don't want the leading zeros. So I just do j. A lot of times you can also have it where it just says Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, basically the date of the week, which would be this lowercase l. So if you wanted that, you would just change this to a lowercase l and save that. But we'll leave it as the FJ month and day to match their template. So if we save the changes there, now we go back to Event Calendar Newsletter. It saved all the settings from the last time we ran it. And then if I click Generate again, we'll see you just have the month and the day. And it pretty much matches their template. So we'll save this as a template, which is a way to save all of our settings and the formatting of the events so we can pull it into our newsletters. So we'll say next week's events and save. And there we go. So we can either click on this link or you have the Save Templates link underneath Event Calendar Newsletter. So if I click there, we can see our next week's events. And we have our option, our feed URL, our MailChimp merge tags, and some other options, which we'll go through now. So if we want to set up now this as a automated weekly campaign, we'll copy this feed URL, and then we'll go into MailChimp. So if you don't have MailChimp already, you just need to head to MailChimp.com and sign up for an account. It's free for up to 2,000 subscribers, and you can sign up for that. So once you have it, you're going to want to create a list. And I recommend creating a test list, not sending it to your full list immediately, just so you can make sure that it looks correct. Maybe try it for a week or two, automated to a small test list. And in this case, I've used create list, and I've created a list with just 2 people on them. So just so we can see how it looks. And then once you're happy with it, you just change the campaign, which I'll show you how to create now, to your actual list. So if I go over to campaigns, and then I'm going to create what's called a RSS campaign. And that's just basically a campaign that's based on a feed, and it'll only send a mailing if there are events in the feed for that week. So if I click RSS campaign, and then if I paste the feed URL that I copied here, and I'll pick which day I want it to send. So I'll say every week on Sunday at, say, 7 p.m. But you can obviously change this to whatever date you'd like. So now if I go next, and I'll pick my test lists, and I'll send to the entire list. But you could pick your own list, and either as a segment, so only certain subscribers would receive this weekly newsletter. Whatever options you'd like, you can do there. If you hit next, now we're going to say upcoming events for the week, and we'll change the subject to something like that. And obviously you could pick whatever subject you'd like. So our from name, we'll just change that to CoMotion. And the from email would be your email. It's usually good to have it come from a person as opposed to a company, but it depends on what the branding you have is. So if you go next, now we pick a template. So I'm going to create a template based on a previous weekly email they sent. And this is the one that I was showing before, which has the same formatting. So if I go select for this one, we'll see that it's copied over the text from the previous campaign. So if I click on this, I want to remove the events that were manually added to the last campaign. And instead, I want to insert the events for the upcoming week. So I can do that just by going back to Event Calendar Newsletter. And under next week's events, we have this MailChimp merge tag. So you literally just copy this and then paste it. And obviously it doesn't look like events now, but if we go to preview and enter preview mode, and once the preview comes up, we can see that the events are being pulled in from our website automatically. So we get our 2 events for this week. So if I close this, like I mentioned, we could add another section just for the upcoming private events. So if I go back into Event Calendar Newsletter and click Add New, instead of the CoMotion events, we'll click Private Events. We'll do the same options, group by day, same title, generate newsletter, just so we can preview how it looks. And sure enough, it's got the one private event that they have this week happening on Wednesday at 8 a.m. So we'll have this in a separate section so it's not too confusing for readers to see the public events versus the private. So if we go back into MailChimp, and under here, I can pick another section stating private events. I'll format that with a header. And I'll save this template as private events next week. And save. And now if I view my saved templates, I can copy the same feed block tag and put it into my campaign underneath the header. And now if I preview and test again, we see that it's adding the events underneath our header. And so you could do that for any category of events to basically split up how they look to make them easier to skim. Otherwise, you can just keep the one section. So now if I save and close and go next, you'll see that it's all set to send. And basically, if I just click Start RSS on the next Sunday, it will send the upcoming events for that week. And that's it. That's how you can automate your email campaigns with Event Calendar Newsletter and MailChimp.